Hi Raja, welcome to the Good City Show. It's good to have you back.
Glad to be here, Aditya. Thanks for having me over.
I love the Raja capital in the background. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we try to do.
So Raja, you've been up to some very interesting stuff. The last time we met obviously was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Uh, so give me a little intro into who are you? Who is Raja Arjun?
I mean, that's a very deep question, but I'm basically an architect. I hail from a real estate family. My family has been in the real estate trade for the last 3.5 decades. My father, Raja Uday, is the founder of a company called Raja Housing, and they're the pioneers of land banking. So they've bought large tracts of land and betted on a long-term investment strategy early in the 90s, and which paid off later on. And that's always made me well connected to the real estate trade itself. And I was always interested to get into real estate like that. Uh, I got the opportunity to join architecture, and I thought that was the best way to kind of continue the legacy. And I pursued a master's in designing, so that's where I started combining design skills and business skills together, and trying to see new disruptive business models in real estate and design. So I hope that's short enough and precise enough for to kind of sum I am.
So you've been putting out interesting projects across your multiple Instagram handles. Tell us more. What is Raja Capital? It looks really fancy in the background.
Okay, so before I answer what Raja Capital is, just put up a hand icon over there. Raise of hands. How many of you have a smartphone? Right. How many of you have used Airbnb and Amazon?
All right.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Kaushik. So, if I were to tell you, maybe a decade or 12 years ago, that you would be able to control your world from the comfort of your home, right? Order anything that you require from anywhere, from the comfort of your house, and to go travel the world and live with random people, and maybe even more alarming, invite random people into your house. You'd probably look at me in a funny way, right? So,
right.
The whole idea over here is that consumption patterns and people and demographics are changing, and it seems that real estate has taken a backseat to other industries to actually catch up to this. And so basically, I see the opportunity to try our trade of design and real estate to the growing and existing trends, future trends that are coming up.
All right.
Yeah. So with Raja Capital, what we're trying to do is basically we're a vertically integrated. Can you?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Are you there?
Yeah. I think I lost it there.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Okay, so we've got a lot of breaks. All right. I think we've lost Arjun. Hold up. Sure, we can start over. Yes, coffee with me. Can you still hear anything?
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, okay,
Yeah,
Arjun, let's start over.
yeah. Okay. So where did you guys lose me?
We lost you just after Raja Capital. Give us an intro of Raja Arjun. And don't look so serious, man.
Yeah, so
I'm not trying to be Arnab.
yeah, so I mean that's not a concern at all. I mean you can be Arnab or you can be who you want to be,
You're too
but
conscious. This is not the
uh,
real Raja Arjun.
so Raja Capital is a vertically integrated realty company
Okay.
that basically focusing on envisioning future lifestyles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just gave you an example of how real estate is probably lagging behind to existing trends, right? So
All right.
we are basically focusing on is to make a lot of design centric disruptions in the real estate space,
Okay.
right? So to give you an example, um, we've identified that globalization and urbanization is going to continue to kind of grow, and we have a
Okay.
population of 1.5 million people moving into Indian cities, into the top 5 cities in India every year, right? So one of the things that we see is spaces are getting smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and anyway multi-generational houses don't exist anymore, okay, or are very hard to kind of coexist in one space. And you can see while we are actually right now in a lockdown, a lot of people are sharing spaces with their family, and to be honest, if you're if you're going to be quite candid, a lot of people can't survive and kind of tolerate being 24 hours with their family. So
Right.
the idea behind Pixel Spaces is one of the ventures under Raja Capital, is to make millennial homes, which
Mm-hmm.
are basically urban microspaces,
All right.
which are more affordable, stylish, and basically democratizing real estate, right?
Right.
So if you are someone who values experiences over real estate investment, and that's a lot of us, this would be a perfect product for you, right? And let's forget about all the new terms about having kind of co-living or co-working or whatever it may be, right? So the
Right.
fundamental question here is why is it that these kind of new models are evolving and these new models are required,
Okay.
and the idea is that kind of real estate, again to repeat myself, real estate is not caught up to the requirements of the larger demographic right now. So this particular example sums up what we basically do. Raja Capital, while being a vertically integrated realty company, we focus on envisioning new lifestyles, right? And we focus on new business models which are basically democratizing real estate.
Nice. So let's rewind a couple of years. When I interviewed you about a year and a half ago for Innovate Bengaluru, the origins of Raja Arjun.
Yeah.
Give us a little insight in that. At 16 or 17, you started designing motorbikes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, so basically I took an internship in Ahmedabad
Okay.
with this very exciting architect called Gurjit Singh Matharo, and
Okay.
he's a genius with spaces and material, and the way he makes and plays with concrete is very well known by lots of architects here in India and around the world. But he finds active inspiration from various different professions and design backgrounds, right? So one of the things that he actually pursues is mechanical engineering, or I mean, to more simply put it, he does a lot of like vehicle designs.
All right.
And as an intern and as a motorhead or a gearhead, I've always been very interested in kind of combining these two worlds, and that was the fundamental reason why I even applied to work with him. And I got the chance to actually work on a couple of motorcycles that he's designed. I got a chance to work on a very famous door design that he's done. It's like a curtain door, which has got about 180 odd pieces. So that gave me an idea of kind of driving my pursuit of architecture in a more kind of broad vision, right?
Okay.
So for me, architecture was not just a design tool, but a tool to think alineally. Okay, so I
Okay.
started understanding that you could use the principles of design to kind of design other things, and
All
that's
right.
how I started, like by designing bikes, and then I got a few chances to kind of design and build homes for people at a very
Oh,
early age,
sweet.
and I understood the
And
importance
and
of
that
procurement.
and that
Kind of
was when you were still in architecture school.
Yeah, when I was still in architecture school. So um, I mean, yeah, so I understood, budgets and procurement and, kind of estimations and understanding the business at that time. And this was, by the time I was 20, I'd already sold about 15 bikes all over India under the name of Automorph. I'd built maybe about 4 or 5 houses.
Okay.
I'd made a significant amount of money for myself, completely earned by myself, of course, with the support of my dad and my mom and my family, in terms of kind of getting me there. But like actually taking that knowledge and achieving it gave me that confidence to pursue something larger.
Okay.
So I took that money and pursued a strategy master's, so business strategies master's, and I came back with a design thinking master's. And since then, since 2015, I've been practicing a strategy-driven design practice. We run with a firm name called OCD, Office of Cognitive Design. And you see me here today. We've delivered a lot of spaces, different kinds of spaces that are all designed around understanding people's requirements and people's needs, how they buy, how they live, how they like to be entertained, how they like to entertain others, how they like to eat, how they like to shop, right? These are questions, critical questions that we've asked and incorporated into our designs, whether it's an apartment or cafes that you've been in, or office spaces that
Okay.
you work, or hospitals that you're getting treated. So there's a huge plethora of work that, like a spectrum of work that we work on.
Nice. So you picked an interesting topic for us to also talk about today.
Yeah.
Why don't you emphasize a bit on it?
So design as a principle, like I mentioned before, is an alinear kind of a way of thinking, right? So
Okay.
it seems like a lot of us are. It seems logical that businesses start with the pretext of knowing what actually they are going to deliver and who they're going to deliver it to and how they're going to deliver it, right? But it's not true. I mean, as funny as it sounds, a lot of people actually start businesses like that, and just not small businesses. Large businesses are also based out of kind of brand perception, market dynamics, and they're probably growing just because of their size, and they're not innovating enough, right? But ideally, in design, for example, one cannot actually start without asking the question why. Okay, and it's a
Sure.
great it's a great place to start. And there are a bunch of tools that you actually use while developing design, and whether we like it or not, design, particularly architecture, because I come from that trade, it's not a one-man job. It's a team effort. Everybody plays a role, whether you're an educated architect or you're a civil engineer or you're a mason, and down to the guy who's like supplying you with material. Everyone plays a role, and these are also the basics of design thinking, right? And that's what is design thinking, using the design tools to get into to use it in business tools. So
All
that
right.
is using design for business innovation.
Nice. And then, you've also been up to some great stuff in terms of fresh tags. And you've got this cool new space coming up on Church Street. I remember, I think maybe in February, you had a whole bunch of people putting together artwork and graffiti on the wall, or the interior or the exterior wall of the building. I can't remember.
Yeah, see,
Oh, bingo, and fresh tags pops up behind you.
yeah. So tying back to the MO, or our operating principle at Raja Capital. Again, by the way, Raja Capital also, I only concentrate on design, execution, strategy. right?
Okay.
And I take we have various different partners here right now in Bangalore, working out of Dubai, working out of the US, working out of Bombay, and they all make it possible. So here for Fresh Tags, I have two partners as well, Karthik and Tanisha. They handle the marketing, onboarding of designers, curation, while I handle real estate design and execution. So coming to your question of what exactly is Fresh Tags, Fresh Tags again drives the MO of democratizing real estate, but we focus on retail spaces. So everyone needs a chance, and especially in these COVID times, we find that a lot of young businesses are actually finding it really hard to survive and grow.
Okay.
And forget about these COVID times. Let's go back to like pre-COVID times also, right? So there is a growing trend. It's an existing trend. We are not actually making this trend, or we're not going through an education curve or anything like that. Where young brands are popping up and trying to sell their products primarily on Instagram or WhatsApp or on Facebook, right? So their market is called a direct to consumer market. Okay, it's a D2C market. And if you look at real estate, the real estate is not existing commercial real estate, or the retail real estate has not evolved
Okay.
to kind of cater to their requirements. Okay, and whether we like it or not, physical space is a very important aspect of even an online company's growth. So whether you talk about Amazon, whether you talk about Airbnb, or even you talk about Uber, right? Uber needs cars. Airbnb needs spaces that people have actually invested into. Amazon needs warehouse spaces, right? So the same
Right.
way, retailers find that the most effective way to actually grow their customer reach is physical retail, right? And especially so for smaller retailers, where they can't keep sending products with their minute and small SKUs that they have and taking it back once people try it on, right? So we
Right.
found, while we have set up many great brands, and most recently saw this brand called Fizzy Goblet, which is a Juicy's brand that primarily launched out of Instagram and got a massive following, about 80,000-90,000 people, and had all these celebrities kind of follow it. I realized that it's quite expensive and troublesome for a company to have that idea, develop that
Okay.
product, and then get a real estate space, get 2-3 people to run it, make installations, and promote the brand, and kind of run and maintain the space. So we what Fresh Tags does is actually it gives a platform. It's a discovery platform for
Okay.
these lesser known brands, but making equally or even better products, homegrown brands
Okay.
from around the world, to get a discovery platform both online and offline. And the way we do it is to combine micro spaces, retail shopping technology, which is both online and offline, with data collection, combining logistics and fulfillment capacity, which is again within the store and away from the store, by again partnering with in-house teams and third-party teams. So Fresh Tags is basically a shared retail space, which is both online and offline.
Sweet. So what else have you been up to? Obviously the global pandemic, which is on everybody's mind right now, and as at least here in India or in Bangalore, we enter week 5 or week 6. I've lost track. What's the future like with design? I mean, architecture-wise, interior space, I don't know, cafes.
See, I mean, basically, I'm not a speculator, and I don't play the role of basically kind of predicting where markets are going or whatever. That's not my forte of my profession. But what I can say is, I personally believe that it's not a major dent into a growing clear trend in what we are actually practicing. All right, so
Okay.
it takes a lot of time for these trends to actually evolve, right? It's not over a month, it's not over a year, it's not over 2-3 years. It takes decades of disruption in, for example, in fresh tags, in manufacturing, in retail, in sales, in online infrastructure, blah 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 blah, right? So I'm of the opinion that there has been a ton of knowledge in the past. There are clear trends that are growing, and a lot has already been spoken about it. I only feel that maybe if there is any impact on of COVID into these trends, it would probably be to fasten or speed up the adoption of existing trends and disruptive business models.
Okay.
That's basically my take on it.
All right. And what else have you been up to otherwise?
I mean, just running these firms with a lot of help from my partners and
Okay.
growing new business models. That's kept me
Okay.
busy for sure.
Okay.
So one of the things that I mean, we can go back to where it started, right? So in the design
Right.
profession at OCD, we started OCD also as quite a I don't know if I can tag it as a disruptive model, but I think it's quite different as a pure play architecture company. So it's post design thinking masters, I came back and kind of realized that maybe architecture firms are hinged heavily on the principal architect, and I thought, I mean, it's an accepted fact that you know the principal architect is not the only one who's making all the decisions. It's also the same thing with chefs in every and other similar professions. So I was thinking, can there be a business model where everyone kind of gets a stake or an upside into the growth of the company? So
All
I
right.
started off trying to see if every member, let me rephrase it, every productive member of the design firm earns out of their project, because
Okay.
design is a passion driven profession, and I see that kind of designers don't get paid for the amount of work that they actually put in. Or that's a whole different topic by itself, but I basically wanted to make sure that everyone kind of gets their due. So with OCD, we started off by saying, we'll have all these associates, and then we're going to have architects, and we're going to have junior architects, and everyone is going to earn a certain percentage out of these jobs. And we're going to convert everyone into an entrepreneur and not just an employee. And that's where the idea of being a design entrepreneur kind of sparked. And that has kind of led to various different things, whether it's starting Easy Homes with my friend Karthik, and that's a real tech reality or real tech company, which basically sets up and manages individual houses, from buying an individual plot to kind of doing legalities and hiring your contractor and hiring your architect and buying material online, or whether it's fresh tags that we've already kind of started, and we've taken out space in Church Street, and we've also taken out another space in Bombay, and we've already enrolled about 200 brands, boutique brands right now. 90% of them are in India. We've also got a few of them from basically Italy, Colombia, very interesting spaces. So while I talk about fresh tags, so I'll just take that segue to just show you this, right? So this is a watch by a company called Casa. Shout out to my friend Arpan, who's basically sitting out of Jaipur, and he runs these beautiful stores. These are
Casa also has a store at Green Theory.
Yes. And yes, my friend and partner Vikash as well. We have a hospitality company together. So Casa has a store over there, and this is handmade in Jaipur, and it's got a brass casting. It's got a unique movement. It's got handmade leather strap, right? So and it's a fairly affordable watch, and it's produced in limited numbers. So I mean, Fresh Tags basically gives a platform for unique and exciting brands like this.
Sweet. Okay, so you've got 5 different companies. I've lost track.
That's not the concern. The concern is that we've managed to kind of grow a company from just me operating it to
Okay.
supporting hundreds of people, and
Right.
particularly super proud of growing essentially a company that I started out of using second-hand computers out of someone who didn't pay my dad rent.
Okay.
And that was a space that we were legally awarded, and everything that was inside is ours. So I had a bunch of computers. I was like, okay, let's start it. And we started OCD, and then we saw shared adopting of a shared economy. Then we said, how can we kind of progress the shared economy and look into more of the shared economy, and it grow from 1 people, 10 people, 50 people, and now they're like we have a workforce of architects of about 60 people. We have 45 engineers. We raise up to 500 laborers on site from time to time, giving them all shelter, giving them food, and kind of driving everything that working on everything that I love, and having such a great partner network and watching them work on everything that they love is super exciting,
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty insane. I mean, from going from where you started to where you are now, empowering so many other people to be entrepreneurs in their own space.
Yeah.
Pretty great. So on that note, give me your thoughts on the disruption of the shared economy that we enjoyed to how it's now going to be, with co-working spaces, co-living spaces, and now people have to, at least at least until a vaccine comes out, people are going to be wearing masks like what we are all currently doing. When you go out to a supermarket, you wear gloves. But going forward, how is that going to change? I mean, if I go into a WeWork and if I sit down at one of those shared desks, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of change with COVID-19, right?
Yeah, again, so
But give me your personal thoughts. I don't.
yeah, so see, there's a
Are you
lot
making
that can
coffee?
change. Sorry?
Are you making coffee there?
No. So there's basically there's going to be a lot of definitely disruption in the space making scene for sure. But I think the bigger question to ask is um, not like what it means, but why it is happening, right? So Bill Clinton has a great kind of saying, which I use from time to time: ignore the headlines and focus on the trend lines. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
headlines are kind of fear, it's disruption, it's core spaces, it's geopolitics, it's Delgona whipped 400 times, right? Uh, but the the trend line is the real question is what is driving this change, right? And we see that today's demographic is basically 50% of the workforce is millennial, and millennial is a very broad term. I understand that, but interestingly, the other 50% is actually divided into 4 other generations. And for the first time since this modern consumerism-driven kind of world, economic world is running. We've never seen 5 generations actually work in the same place, live in the same space, with kind of a longer lifespan, right? So spaces need to react to this requirement where there are 5 generations working in one space, and each one has their own preferences, and each one has their own requirements. And you see, the evolution and the popularity of the new popularity of the third space, where coffee shops become the new workspaces. There are kind of agile ecosystems that are created with people like basically WeWork and other co-working spaces, right? So I feel like these are all just terms. These are new terms that are uh, just getting popular. But it would be interesting to note that the consumption patterns are changing, and real estate will have to change with these new consumption patterns. And what it is and how it will happen is very speculative right now, but
Mm-hmm.
it will change.
All
Maybe you
right.
should talk to my wife Akshara, who's an architect. She'll get into a lot of details about how schools are changing, how restaurants are changing with more details.
Yeah, I'd love to. And she seems to be up to a lot of creative stuff too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me a little more about your hospitality venture.
It again stems from the idea of democratizing real estate. And
I
sorry,
remember when you. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off there. I remember when you were doing healthy sandwiches and juices. I don't know whatever happened to that.
yeah,
Low
so
carb or something.
Super Sandwich was a brand that we grew and we sold that brand as well.
Okay.
And with that success, we kind of learned our lessons and 1117, which we run along with Bikash from Green Theory and Aditya Kirambi, who's also a chef. Basically, we what we want to do is again go back to the principle of a shared economy, and one of the
Okay.
things that it kind of ties back to is I think for some time or the foreseeable future, we're going to see more kind of dark kitchens coming out, and even existing restaurants kind of equipping themselves to cater to a kind of post-COVID environment, because the immediate 6 months are still quite hazy. So if we look at even hospitality for that sake, and look at how delivery apps are increasing, or their proliferation and their usage is increasing, we see that there are young chefs that may want to kind of set up new brands themselves, but they don't know how exactly to set up brands. They have the skill set to kind of maybe think about exactly what they might enjoy doing, right?
Okay.
So maybe it's a certain kind of cuisine or whatnot. What we
Mm-hmm.
do is we leverage our understanding of creating and launching spaces and brands and understanding operations between the three
All
of
right.
us, and put up the infrastructure of the kitchen, help them in kind of menu making, understanding a new demographic, putting up a pricing strategy in place, giving them a brand language, helping them launch, doing kind of hand holding them to for even the first 3 months, 6 months, or a year, in terms of staffing and kind of growing that brand.
Oh, that's pretty
So
cool.
yeah. So that's basically
Nice.
what 1117 does. And the first one that we're experimenting right now is with a taco brand called Loco. It's actually a Mexican brand that's going to be
So it's going to be
kind of
Loco
making,
Tacos.
yeah, Loco Tacos and Loco
And I'm
Mexicana instead
hungry.
of Mexican Canteen.
I'm
Yeah,
actually hungry.
yeah, you should.
Bikash,
It's we
I'd
we
really
just
love
had
some
some.
food from Green Theory right now. I see
You
Bikash
should
commenting.
call Bikash. Have some food. Whoever's tuning in right now, have some food from Green Theory. They're making some excellent fresh vegetarian food, and you can order tacos and Mexican food from us very soon.
Awesome. And I can order that on 1117
Yeah, you can order that on
or on
Swiggy.
Loco.
You can give me a
Okay.
call.
Nice. Anything else you'd like to emphasize about?
Um, so, I mean, I've basically touched upon everything that I think is important. We've touched upon a shared economy. We've touched upon democratizing real estate. We've discussed about changing patterns in kind of consumer patterns in real estate. In retail, in hospitality, in what might be the design changes, what we're doing with micro spaces. We've talked about agile workforce and what it might do with spaces as well. Um, so, I mean, I'm open for any questions that maybe the audience also has, or anything that you want to
Okay,
ask me.
great. I see a lot of questions and a lot of wow. Okay, that's a lot of questions. Hi, Akshara. Um, Ready. You want to scroll up the screen and see?
You're
I think
asking me.
Monish had some questions. Yeah, I think Monish had some questions.
You can randomly choose whatever you think is interesting.
Is Raj Rishi has a question? Is Raja the taxi for show of design?
Um, I mean, I that may be very loosely put,
Okay.
but see, we realize that design, especially spatial
Okay.
design, is a very interpersonal relationship between the user and the person who requires our service. Okay, and I believe that that the joy of architecture and space making is cannot be. I mean, there is going to be a limitation of how wide and how commercial this can become, and OCD particularly does not have the focus or the intention to kind of become a company where we just we become a taxi for sure for design. uh, I'm just trying to OCD is trying to be a boutique commercial design company that is practicing strategy based design, that is not focused on any one particular style or any genre of design. Anything with space making, you should think about OCD. And in
All right.
would like to kind of empower architects and interior designers and contractors. But the next version of it, I would say, is we have a company called Easy Homes, as I mentioned. That is probably like the taxi for sure for kind of discovering young architects for your house, discovering young brands. Like we have a brand called Gorilla. It's a very funny name, but they make insane fans
Gorilla.
for
Okay.
about $1,800, and they actually basically come with a small little remote like this, and you can control your fan, right? And it's way better than any Havels or anything out there in the market. And they have a very good kind of service driven team that's mainly for Bangalore. And these are the kind of companies that we have kind of curated in Easy Homes. There's another company that has created a centralized stabilizer system, and we are exclusively selling that out of Easy Homes. So I would say Easy Homes is the taxi for sure for kind of design and materials and everything. And
So with
OCD is still a quality driven design firm.
so with all these companies that you have and that that you're curating, do you have any one platform where everybody can come and find all these products at? I mean, you.
So it's a very good question. So we had a beta website for Raja Capital, which we have kind of renewed, and the new website is already built. I'm just waiting for our team to kind of come back and kind of operations to start off in full swing. So Raja Capital is going to have a website where you can come and you can check out all the new work that we're investing our time, money, and energy on. Whether it's the design firms, whether it's in retail and hospitality, event spaces. We're coming up with a platform called Pop Spaces, which is basically driving the timeline of using a real estate space from 10 years to 1 year to basically coming down into minutes. So if you're a company that wants to, for example, host this, and you can't do it at your house, you can hire that space for 30 minutes, right?
Oh,
So that
sweet.
is Pop Spaces. So various different ideas and companies that we're kind of incubating and launching and curating, you can find on the Raja Capital website soon.
Nice. And on that note, are you also focusing on real estate as a service or RaaS?
Yeah, I mean, very much so. Raja Capital is in the space of real estate as a service, or space as a service, SaaS or RaaS, whatever people are calling it, because it's just a word that's starting to pick up trend right now. But not only are we focusing on positioning real estate as a service, the advantage that we have is that we already have a vertically integrated company. We have a strategy-driven design company with design entrepreneurs running it. I mean, with their own individual capacity, we are delivering close to 1.5 million square feet of buildings and interior spaces. We have a contracting company, MakePod, that's creating beautiful interior spaces and boutique civil spaces for some of the best known kind of architects here in Bangalore, Chennai. Even some of the co-working spaces are our clients, where we're fitting out their co-working spaces. We have a real estate strategy driven company. So all of this actually ties in and helps us to be a lean, agile, linear thinking company that's focusing on space as a service. And that's basically where we are going to be driving Raja Capital towards.
Okay, on this note, as a young entrepreneur, since you've diversified so much, how have you managed to leader and sorry, how have you managed to be a young leader and actually ensure that you hire the right people for so many companies that you have?
That's an amazing question, man, Aditya. The main job that I have is to scout the right the people who enjoy
Sorry,
working with me.
sorry. Can you restart again? I got a call.
Yeah, that's the most important. That's a very good question, and that's the most important aspect of my job. I'm constantly scouting for talent that I enjoy working with, and vice versa. I look for them also enjoy working with me. I look at myself equally as an employee of the company and not someone who's just a boss. So we constantly keep a culture in all our companies where you can knock down the door or walls that kind of divide us, and you can ask me any question that you have. So I take a lot of effort and pain in choosing the partners that are going to lead these businesses, and then choosing the teams that are going to lead management teams that are going to lead the more kind of operational aspects of this business.
All right, Neha, Vikram has some question. Raja, give us some cooking tips.
I've been a fan of. I think Mia knows this.
Okay.
I'm a big foodie, and that's also the reason why one of my first design jobs was to design restaurants for this company called Bus Ride Design. And the reason is that they designed all these beautiful spaces like Smokehouse Delhi and socials and everything. And my first job was to actually take care of the spaces here in Bangalore as the lead architect. And it seems to me that even that decision was taken for the love of food. So I have it's safe to say that I'm continuing that passion by cooking over here right now. Tips to cook is that I don't know. I mean, we have a well-stacked kitchen. As I made in the kitchen, as you know, as my friend Rishi says it, he's also tuning in over here. So I think kind of using the most fresh ingredients, being creative with the recipes that you're kind of creating in your house, and kind of challenging yourself on a continuous basis, and definitely having a partner at home who equally enjoys cooking is the secret for kind of happy cooking, I guess.
All right. Rishi has a question. How do you list brands for Fresh Tags? I mean, if you've got over 200 brands, it must be quite insane.
Yeah. So Fresh Tag, actually, this industry has, in our estimate, about 25,000 brands from around the world. Okay. So while it's a niche industry, it's not a small task to kind of curate these brands. One of the easy aspects is that most of these brands, since they're trying to disrupt design in their own way, so whether it's like a Napa Dori making beautiful leather wallets and bags, or it's a Casa making these beautiful objects and watches and kind of clothes, they are automatically kind of they have a great portfolio that fits to our requirement. That's the first thing, right? Second thing is that we look at a consistent presence that they have in terms of from their first product to how they've actually grown this product and how they've evolved. So that kind of their presence online and offline, once we meet them, we realize how serious they are with the brand. So that's a very important aspect of even onboarding them. So their vision and everything. And three is that they have to basically follow a certain kind of a design ethos that we're trying to kind of curate over here. And when I say design ethos, there's also a very strong understanding of a pricing strategy over here. So most brands are between about 500 to 2,000, 2,500 rupees. This is about 65% of the brands. The remaining 25% or even let's say 30% of the brands are between 3,000 and about 7,000 bucks. And post and beyond 7,000 bucks are only occupied by 5-10%. So these three stages are what actually helps us curate these brands. And there are a bunch of other processes that my partner Tanisha actually handles in the curation process. There's a lot of interviewing. There's a qualitative analysis process. I mean, there's discussions and all kinds of things that happens. There's a brainstorming session that we do. It's quite a long, lengthy process, but that's mainly we're being very particular this time because it's the first and second store. But we already have we've already started investing in a technology or let's say a system where you could just apply online and qualify and just take over the space.
All right. And Grishma Reddy has a question. With your companies, how are you managing the strategies and how many how during this shutdown, how are you managing retaining all your employees?
So on a lighter note, I come from a Shetty family, and we Shetties are akin to
this is Shetty versus Reddy.
There's no verses over here, but the point that I'm getting to is that there are. I mean, I've been kind of handed over these kind of age-old principles of money, right? And it might seem kind of funny, but I see that as a very important tool to kind of be frugal with your money and how smart you are in kind of using this to maintain and grow your company. So we've been very lucky in kind of planning our finances very well. So we've not had to lose any of our staff, our full-time paid staff. We've had to take some hits. They've had to take some hits as well, but we've not left anyone who's kind of stayed with us in our growth process, and we are paying them salaries, and we're very liquid right now.
All right. Okay. Cool. Do you see any other questions on your side? Because I think when I received a call, I seem to have lost some questions. Monish, are you still here? You had some questions. I don't see those questions. But yeah, and there's a strong demand to have Akshara on the show right now.
Yeah, you should, because she can give you the details of how spaces are changing in terms of design. That's a huge, that's a very important discussion in its own right now.
Okay, so we'll hopefully have her on tomorrow at the same time.
Yeah. I mean,
awesome.
I don't know, man. There's just a lot of messages and questions here to scroll.
Yeah, do you see anything interesting? Mr. Chabs, okay, Munish, you had some questions earlier. I'm sorry, I can't see those questions.
I think he's asking, can you specify a little more on using sustainable products in buildings? Okay, so that's, again, that comes down to design details, and I'll leave Akshara or anyone else from the design team to kind of answer that. But if I were to give you a kind of a quick answer for that, my wife's company, Ace Group, basically founded by my father-in-law, architect Dinesh Verma. Ace Group and OCD, we work together. So we share the infrastructure and we kind of share our teams from time to time, right? So when I say we, I mean it's them. So we have used a tensile fabric, which is generally used as a roofing system. We've used the tensile fabric, which is a dust repellent material, as a part of the facade. So there's absolutely no glass that's used in this facade. And while this tensile fabric is made from kind of reused metal and kind of infusing it with nylon, so it comes with a lot of kind of greenhouse certifications. So that's probably like the largest installation of a tensile roof in a facade in Asia. And we got awarded recently for that as well. So that is one example of how we're using more sustainable practices. But we've also used a lot of cork in products. Cork is also a material that's basically used by only debarking the trees without actually felling or falling the entire tree. Cork mainly comes from Portugal, but we also have a lot of Indian cork over here. So we made a lot of things like tables, lights, products out of cork, wall panels, chairs, armrests, coasters. So
Yeah,
that comes out
you
of the
are
OCD
also,
portfolio.
you're also selling furniture at OCD, right?
Yeah, so OCD is everything to do with space. So we do interior design, we do architecture, we do contracting, and while we've started doing contracting and we did a lot of restaurants, uh, we also started doing a lot of lights and furniture for a lot of architects. And so now some architects kind of send us reference images and designs, and we can produce for them.
I remember there was
And
a
we have
really
we have
cool.
a line of a lot of things like decor products, from like kind of pillow covers to furniture that you can buy from OCD. Right now,
Okay.
it's not online or anything like that. It's mainly sold to people that we know and our clients that ask us. But we have a plan
Okay.
to bring it to the public, and my partner Neha is someone who will drive that. She's also
Okay.
one of the spectators.
All right. And I think last two questions. Munish has a question again. Um, what's the key to your management success? I think that's pretty interesting.
The key is trust. Trust in the people that work along with me. And look, I think, there are some pitfalls and advantages of every management style. So that could be, kind of micromanaging. And my dad is a great kind of micromanager, and he's grown a successful business out of micromanaging. But I'm a believer that, after you choose the right people to lead your organizations and to be your partners to kind of brainstorm and grow and envision a company, I feel like 90% of the work is done there, and you should, once you've given this platform, you should trust in these people that they also, because they're earning out of it, not just the name, they earn a livelihood out of it. You should trust that they will actually take this idea forward, and constantly work along with them. It's not that you can just just kind of give it to someone, and I see people loosely throwing around this term of, oh, it's an automatically run business and all. I don't understand how something can be an automatic business. You have to actually kind of concentrate on exactly what's happening, and that requires a lot of work, and that's a lot of sacrifice, apart from just kind of choosing these guys and kind of just constantly evolving. It's a lot of commitment from my side, and I mean, to be honest, I've sacrificed a lot of my own personal life to kind of see this through for myself and my partners.
Awesome. And finally, lastly, last point. Anything pending? I mean, we can go on. Arjun.
You're asking me?
Yes.
I mean, I'm open for any questions. I can share what
Okay.
you want.
So scroll through the question that you see on your screen and pick one.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of.
I see a lot of why so serious, Raja.
How
What do you do
how
for
is
fun,
he
Raja?
killing time besides work these days? I can't. I don't know if that sounds sad or it sounds fun, but we're working constantly, and that's
So what do you do
taking
for
up all my
fun?
time. And catch up with friends, catch up with partners. While running so many companies, you got to take care of all these personal relationships that you have with all the people that are running your company. So we have kind of online parties. We make food together. We drink
What's an
together.
online party?
We get together and drink and eat and cook. And
So whoever's lucky
share
enough to
stories.
still have stock of their favorite brew.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the prerequisites is that I hope you have everything that you love in your house. Yeah.
All right, all right. Thanks. All right, thank you, Raja. Thank you for a lot of information in terms of what you've been up to, you as an individual, and a design entrepreneur, an entrepreneur, and more importantly, empowering so many people to become micro entrepreneurs. I think that's most important. And also being in a good position and not firing anybody during the COVID
So,
recession.
thanks a lot, Aditya, for actually kind of inviting me, and thanks for your fans as well who've actually tuned in to listen to what I do today. Before we leave, I'd like to basically leave with a proverb that I really like. When the winds of change are coming, you can either choose to build windmills or walls, and it's pretty safe to say that we're in the business of building these windmills. So I'll leave you with
Nice.
that.
So there you have it, Raja Arjun.
Shout out to Zain,
Design.
my partner from MakeBot. He's waving.
Hi, Zain.
Thanks,
Nice
guys.
to see you.
Thanks, everyone.
And most importantly, so we do this show every day at 5 o'clock. Today is the first time that I'm experimenting
Hey, shout
with
out
an
to
8 p.m.
Anup
show.
Gandhi, the owner of Jam Jar in Bombay, and who's also given us two other restaurants, Mahe in Goa and Champaka over here in Bangalore. He's saying that he really liked working with us. So Anup, shout out to you. We really liked working with you.
Awesome. Finally, some energy from you.
A lot of energy, to be honest.
We'll see. Also, guys, please find the recorded video of our session on YouTube by about, I don't know, 9 p.m. or 11 p.m. when I get around to doing it. And I'd love to see a big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and for all the feedback. Please come back at 8 p.m.